When I first met him, he was nothing more than another name on my appointment list. A patient, someone I was supposed to help. My job was to listen, to care, and to guide. Nothing more. But life has a way of surprising us when we least expect it. At that time, my marriage was falling apart. My husband barely spoke to me. When he did, his words carried irritation more than love. Every day, I felt myself disappearing in his shadow. So when this patient walked into my office, I had no idea he would change the way I looked at myself. He wasn't extraordinary in appearance, but he had something I hadn't felt in years: attention. He listened when I spoke, truly listened. He looked me in the eye, like my words had weight. My own husband hadn't done that in a very long time. At first, I reminded myself, he's just my patient. Keep your distance. And I did. I stayed professional, careful, detached. But inside, something began to stir. One afternoon as we talked, he said quietly, "You deserve to be heard. You deserve to feel like you matter." It was a simple sentence, but it hit me harder than anything else. I went home that night replaying his words. For years, I had felt invisible, like a ghost walking through my own home. And now, someone had reminded me that I was still human. The sessions continued, and with each one, I noticed the warmth in his voice, the kindness in his eyes. It wasn't love, and it wasn't lust. It was something I had been starving for: validation. He made me realize that I wasn't broken, that I wasn't worthless. I was still someone who could be noticed, respected, maybe even admired. Of course, I kept the boundaries. I never crossed the line, never let it become more than what it was. But I couldn't deny the impact it had on me. Meanwhile, my marriage continued to wither. The distance grew larger. My husband barely noticed when I stayed late at work. He didn't ask where I was, or how I was feeling. And every time I looked at him, I wondered how long I had been settling for this emptiness. How long had I been convincing myself this was normal? One night, lying awake in bed, I realized something. It wasn't the patient who had awakened me. It was me. He had only reminded me of a truth I had buried. I deserved better than neglect. The next morning, I made a decision. Not about him, not about us, but about myself. I couldn't live in silence anymore. When I finally confronted my husband, the words came out strong. I feel invisible with you. I feel unwanted. And I won't live like this any longer. He stared at me, shocked. Maybe he hadn't realized how far things had gone. Maybe he thought I would stay quiet forever. But I was done being quiet. The patient eventually moved on with his life, and so did I. But he left behind something priceless, the reminder that I was still a person who mattered. He was just my patient. But in the end, he gave me the strength to reclaim myself.